Welcome to another short subject from EducateVirtually.com. We're going to talk about functional requirements and how you go ahead and develop those. And in this case, we're talking about a quality management system. Now, we've already started with the voice of the customer requirements. We've got those prioritized. Now what we want to think about is, okay, just what is it that this quality management system is supposed to do? So when you begin to build a functional model, which is going to help us with the requirements, what we have to do is start with, and this is the toughest one, we start with a prime function. And this prime function is really the overall descriptor of just what it is that this quality management system is supposed to do. And then from that, we will get into the level 1 functions, and we'll probably get into some level 2 functions, and that's about the depth that we're going to have to get to build the functional requirements for this quality management system. If we were developing a product, we would have to take this probably maybe 2 layers below this to finally get down to the parts, the components, the systems, the bill of materials. When we're talking about a process, a system, we're probably only going to need to have our prime function and then the sub-functions behind it. So the way this works is this is the overall what it is that we have to do. That's the prime function. And then we take a look at, okay, well, how are we going to then do that? And then when we get to this level, we say, okay, well, then these become the what's, and then this becomes the next level of how. So we go from what to how, and then from what to how. And that's the progression that we follow when we're building a functional model. Now, in this particular case, let's take a look and see if we can get the prime function in here. I'm going to need a little bit of real estate here. And we'll get a couple of the functions underneath it. The prime function for this one, I'm going to have to read this. So I'll use my cheat sheet here. All right, provide a system that evaluates, selects, qualifies, and monitors our global suppliers and assures the delivery of quality of products and services that meet the specific requirements of each business unit and customer. That's a mouthful. But you can see how meaty that prime function statement has to be, because it really describes just what is it that this quality management system is supposed to do. All right, so it's going to basically guarantee quality, and we'll just say across the supply chain. We'll just say that as a high level. Then to do that, we need to provide, okay, a means, and we'll just do a bunch of these. We need to provide a means to qualify suppliers. We need to provide a means to monitor performance. We need to provide a means to capture and evaluate requirements, okay, for business units. Another mouthful. We need to provide a means to communicate. And this is important. We need to be able to communicate between engineering and the suppliers and us, and purchasing and procurement and strategic supply chain management. Everybody has to be able to share and communicate information. It's very important, because if we want to have our requirements met, we got to make sure that people understand what those requirements are. So the communication piece is very important. We need to have a means to evaluate and improve supply chain performance, and we need to have a means to validate that requirements are met. Okay, so pardon my scribbling here a little bit, but all right, so we basically have to guarantee quality across the supply chain for the multiple business units. That's what we have to accomplish with the quality management system. Okay, how are we going to do that? Well, to do that, we have to be able to provide a means to qualify suppliers, monitor their performance, capture and evaluate requirements for the business units, communicate, evaluate and improve supply chain performance, and then validate that the requirements have been met. So all of these functions, and then there's some sub-functions below it, and you'll see that in the course material, the details. Then what we want to do is put this into the QFD, where we are going to use the voice of the customer now. Let's kind of wipe some of this out real quick here. We'll use the QFD. And what we'll do is we'll have the voice of the customer over here. We'll have our functions over here. We're going to do this relationship, and that's going to give us the priority for those functional requirements. And then the functions are going to become the new what's, and then up here we're going to have our processes. And then they'll end up with a priority as well after we do these relationships between the processes and these relationships. Functions, the voice of the customer, prioritized functions. The prioritized functions with their scores are then used to help evaluate, rate, and rank the processes that we may be developing so that we can meet the functional requirements. So what happens here is we end up with, here's the key processes we have to develop because these are going to meet the most important functional requirements. If we can meet those functional requirements, it means that we're going to deliver the voice of the customer requirements. So everything is tied nice and neatly together as we go through the quality function deployment approach to designing our new process. Well, that's building our functional requirements and how they tie back into the QFD. So now I think you're ready to continue on with your process design for Six Sigma course.